Bold Bank Robbery is a 1904 short film directed by Jack Frawley for the Lubin Manufacturing Company. Formed by Polish immigrant Sigmund Lubin in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the company quickly became a major producer and distributor of one-reel films between 1896 and 1916. Lubin constructed and sold his own camera projector called the Cineograph prior to making his own movies. His state-of-the-art facility, dubbed Lubinville, featured large stage sets, editing rooms, film labs, and workshops. His success allowed him to expand his company, setting up a studio in Florida and 2 in California. Lubin Manufacturing spent years in legal disputes with Thomas Edison over trademark infringement, as did several other film companies. Edison eventually won and formed the Motion Picture Patent Company in 1908. This gave Edison control over licensing, distribution, and film stock. By renting films instead of selling them, it required exhibitors to meet new quality standards for showing films. Another side effect of this consolidation was the market dominance of American films over foreign imports. Edison's film monopoly ended in 1915 when a federal court decided it violated the trade laws established by the Sherman Antitrust Act. The Bold Bank Robbery took inspiration from Edison and Edwin S. Porter's film, The Great Train Robbery, but changed the setting from the West to the big city, showing gangsters instead of cowboys. It also inspired Edwin S. Porter to make his own crime film, Capture of the Yegg Bank Burglars. Honestly, the better film. I recommend looking it up. Lubin also filmed a copy remake of The Great Train Robbery. He even titled his version The Great Train Robbery. Perhaps things like this provoked Edison to reach for more control over his products, but he often did the same thing, and worse, distributing works of other filmmakers, claiming they were his own, as he did with films by Georges Méliès, like A Trip to the Moon. Taking an idea from one film and translating it into another film is a common technique even today. It's interesting to see this early example here. The film has very little plot. 4 unnamed men don disguises, steal a car, rob a bank, get caught, and end up in jail. For a 6-minute scenario, there's a good number of classic crime movie highlights, including a getaway car and a rooftop chase. Though not exactly innovative, it may have incidentally been the first film to depict these elements. There isn't much style to speak of, mostly content that's of interest. Yet it offers a noteworthy artistic touch in the scene where the crooks break into the bank vault. An electric lantern sits on a table, but it isn't actually being used for light. They painted the light onto the wall of the stage set. Painted sets were more than common in silent films, and some were incredibly detailed and sophisticated. To paint a lighting effect onto the scenery does more than show a light source. It informs the mood of the scene. Here, more than any other part of this silent short, it feels to be in the visual style of a crime thriller. A decade later, the artistic style known as German Expressionism, using sharp contrast and heavy shadows, developed to give a foreboding atmosphere to films. The style peaked in 1920 with The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. The film featured elaborately abstract sets with painted-on lighting. The 2 genres of film to draw the greatest inspiration from German Expressionism were horror and the crime thriller. The films of Fritz Lang, Alfred Hitchcock, and Orson Welles use this artistic style. The Bold Bank Robbery isn't a classic or revered by film scholars. It came from a time now largely forgotten, erased by war and more prominent films. But behind the scenes, the people who made it set the stage for the industry to come. Lubin's company made this movie for one reason. They saw a popular film by another filmmaker and said, "Let's do the same thing, only different." a trend that persists in the industry well over a century later.